saying that due to Laura not being and slight change of people. Yay!
Okay. Do you want to check on the iPad just in case? I'll let you check it and then I can introduce
it. Live. I'm just doing the technical
We have
stuff.
2 people viewing already, so
hello.
and
yes, we are live now. Wendy, you'll need to just move over a little bit this way.
Is that better?
No? Yeah, could be. It's just
what can you say?
That's perfect.
Yes? Perfect. Are you nicely out of shot there, Emma?
I certainly am.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Wendy. I'm currently the matron for community at AUH.
And I'm Chloe. I'm one of the midwives working in a mixture of places, quite often on delivery suite and recovery on the assessment unit.
So we were expecting, well, you were probably expecting Laura Jones, who is the matron for intrapartum, that's delivery suite, observation area and MAU, but she can't be here today. So I'm stepping in some big shoes, but that's why I have Chloe, because she is going to answer all the questions that I don't know the answers to.
Fab.
So this is a session focusing on the services in delivery suite, maternity assessment and observation area. So that's our high dependency area where it's like recovery. So anything about that sort of those sort of wards. This is your midwife. And we're getting some viewers already.
We have 13 viewers. My name's Emma, and I'm the outpatient services, and I'm going to be just looking at all the questions coming in and reading them out to Wendy and Chloe.
Any questions yet? I'm guessing not.
Not as yet. So perhaps we could just start off a little bit. I'd thought a little bit, a couple of things to run through about when people come in. Think that they may be in labour. So a few of the things that they might be asked to do.
Yeah. So quite often before people come in labour, whether it's a planned induction or whether they're coming in spontaneous labour, we ask if yourself and your birth partner would be able to do lateral flow tests before coming in, and preferably bring in the little cassette as proof of your test. If you don't have them at home, we do have them at the hospital. It just helps speed things along a little bit when people come in with them already. And we are still asking at the moment for people to be wearing face masks for the majority of the time, unless obviously exempt. And women in labour aren't expected to wear their masks. They can have them off during the labour.
So we've got our first questions coming in. Excellent. So this is from Tessa, who says this is great and very helpful. So thank you. I'm due on Wednesday this week. Good luck. And is looking forward to meeting everyone there soon. Are there any plans to make changes following the expected government announcement today to relax all rules?
For me to field that one.
Yeah, that would be great.
So we haven't really, the Trust haven't really followed the government guidance at the same time as it has gone to the public. We've sort of been a little bit one step behind because of the way that in hospital we have very vulnerable women, babies, sometimes even staff. So generally what the public are told doesn't match up with what we are doing inside the hospital, because we're just in a very different environment to, say, like a supermarket, for example. So we often find that after the government announcement is made, the Trust execs, like all the people who know what they're talking about, they'll get together and they'll decide what parts of that guidance we can take forward, and then what part of the guidance that we need to do slightly differently, and then they'll release a statement to us, and then we'll generally share it with people like the MVP, and they'll be able to publish it on their Facebook, and the Trust will also publish it generally on their Facebook page, and the sort of PR releases are done. So if there's any change to the guidance, it will get published on social media, but I don't anticipate it being a complete relaxation in line with the government guidance. I think that answers it, Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're keeping in line with the NHS as a whole, really, not just exclusively to Oxford, but we just need to make sure that we're keeping the hospitals as safe as we can. Laura has also asked about, is the rule on second birth partners likely to change? And I think that hopefully covers that one as well at the moment.
I think TBC.
Yeah. We've got 23 people watching now, number of members of staff, so hello.
Oh, is it all staff, is it watching?
There's a few staff members checking out what we're doing.
They can ask
Keep an eye on us, yeah.
Put Chloe through her paces.
Hopefully you're going to be asking us some questions, because we've got the experts sitting here and they can answer questions that you may have about your experience about coming in labour or early labour and support like that. So we'll just wait for any more questions to come in. It might be worthwhile just running through some of the about our water births and what we have here in the way of pools.
Yeah.
So
on delivery suite, there's a variety of rooms. Most of them are pretty similar looking, but we do have one room which has a pool in it, and for that room there is Ctg monitoring, so the continuous monitoring that we quite often use for women in labour can be used in the pool. So even if you do have various risk factors or complications in your pregnancy, it doesn't necessarily rule you out for use of the pool in labour. So it's something that I would say we use relatively frequently on delivery suite as an option for pain relief and women's preferences in labour. Lots of the other rooms don't have pools in, unfortunately, but there's lots of different equipments like mats and bathing balls, and the beds can get into various positions, so they're not just a normal bed, which can help with coping strategies in labour, and there's access to aromatherapy in all of the rooms by diffusers. I think that covers it for the pool.
thank you. A couple more questions come in. So Libby says that she's due on Tuesday and she is worried about her partner having to leave. And if she does have to be induced, can her partner stay the whole time as she lives an hour away? Anybody?
Yeah, so normally for inductions at the moment, on the ward where the induction process would start, visiting is 8 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. in the evening. So overnight we don't have facilities at the moment for partners to stay on the ward. However, on delivery suite, say when you are transferred, when the induction process starts the next stage and you're on delivery suite, your partner can be with you at all times on delivery suite, and usually until you're transferred from delivery suite to the postnatal ward, they stay with you on delivery suite. And then on the postnatal ward, the visiting times are the same as the antenatal ward, so 8 a.m. till 8 p.m.
Actually, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck, Libby. Rebecca is asking, can she ask what options are available on the spires, please? She's keen to have her baby but on the spires, but unsure what treatments or pain relief are available.
I should answer, from spires. So it's a birth centre just like the standalone ones in community. So that means we don't have immediate access to sort of the pain relief you might associate with delivery suite, like an epidural, but we are very close by. But we generally have things like we have 3 pools. That's our sort of thing we're famous for, is our 3 pools. We obviously have gas and air, plenty of it. We can do some opiate injections, so that's like your Meptid, diamorphine, that type of thing you might have heard about. We do have that. Then we have Oromorph for early labour. That might be something else you've heard about as well. If you want to ask any more questions about these drugs, pop another question and I can explain them in more detail, or get Chloe to. We have water injections, which is a quite unique thing in our trust. I think it's being sort of slowly rolled out across the UK. It's not actually a drug, but it is an injection in the skin in your back. Sounds quite horrible, but it is really successful for back pain. So that's something we can do on spires, and indeed delivery suite as well. We're big on aromatherapy. We have lots of diffusers, lots of oils. We love that stuff. Massage, heat packs, music. We've got Bluetooth speakers in all the rooms. Lighting. So we try to sort of stick with the complementary therapies a lot on spires. And if we have the pharmacological options there as well, so those are your drugs, and we can transfer to delivery suite quite easily. Have I missed it?
Yeah, I feel like that's
If you want any more information, I won't go into detail about specific pain relief options, but if you want more detail on each one, pop it in the chat and I'll give it to Chloe.
Lovely. So we have now 37 people watching, so welcome to those people that have just joined us.
Going viral, Emma.
I'm not sure the number you have to get to be viral. Slightly more than 37. So Tessa has thanked us for the response to her earlier question, and she's asking, she's checked the January stats, the ones that are shown on the NVP site, I'm thinking, and only 53 births were in the spires, but 350 unassisted vaginal births. Is there a reason there are so few in the spires?
It's probably more that there's a reason they're higher on delivery suite is because of risk factors. And I would say that that's credit to us that we are facilitating normal birth in a high-risk environment. So it's not that women are being prevented from birthing on spires, it's that more women are requiring closer monitoring. And so to keep our normal birth rates up in a high-risk environment is harder to do than in a low-risk environment. So I think I would take that as a reassuring fact that if you have to transfer to delivery suite, there's still a good chance you'd end up with a normal birth, and that we want to facilitate that. But there's no current reason that we're not facilitating birth on spires at the moment. So if you meet the criteria, or if you choose to birth outside of that criteria, we should still be able to facilitate a birth on spires. Does that kind of cover it?
Lovely, yeah, absolutely. Rebecca has asked, are episiotomies a spires procedure?
You can fill that.
Yeah. So episiotomies, for anyone who doesn't know what they are, is just a cut which is made by the midwife or the doctor to help deliver the baby. It's not standard practice, it's not something that we would choose to do unnecessarily. So the recommendations of why we would do an episiotomy would be if there were concerns around the fetal heart rate, and so if it was to expedite the delivery, so to speed up the birth of the baby if we had concerns around the heartbeat, or if there were concerns that the mother would sustain a significant tear, including the back passage. So I would say it's relatively, I don't know the actual stats, but relatively rare to do an episiotomy. We tend to do them with instrumental births, just again to help create more space and to help facilitate the delivery. But on spires, the only reasons that we would recommend an episiotomy would be, like I said, if there were concerns around the fetal heart rate, so the baby's heart rate, or if we had concerns that it was looking like a significant tear was likely. It would be something that's quite often a discussion at the time, and it would be something that would be gained consent for, so you'd be well aware of what was going on and why we were recommending it. But ultimately, it is always the mother's choice. So yeah, I would say not standard practice, but there are reasons why we recommend doing an episiotomy.
Hopefully that answers your question, Rebecca. So Gemma's joined us. She's asking, she's intending to bottle feed, and how does this work on the delivery suites?
So if you choose to bottle feed whilst you're in hospital, we don't have the facilities to be sterilising the equipment and things like that you would normally do at home. So we have pre-made bottles of formula. We stock 3 different formulas in hospital. We don't recommend a particular formula, so it's probably whichever one you would be choosing to use at home long term. It'd be likely that we stock it here because there's not a wide variety of different options. So you would just say to us that that's what your plan was, and then we can get bottles and heaps of the pre-made formula whilst you're in hospital to use. So you don't need to worry about bringing in formula to hospital, equipment, or all of that jazz.
Lovely. We're up to 51 people now watching. So welcome to everybody that's
half of the midwives.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Tessa has asked a question. Can I check if you have staff issues this week with it being half term? That's a concern being due this week.
I'm happy to answer that. We've actually, this is the first time I think in a year, isn't it, Emma?
Yeah.
That we are the lowest it's been in a year. As I'm not making that any sense.
Staffing sickness.
Lowest unavailability.
Yeah,
So we have a figure that we use that represents how many midwives are not available to work. So that's commonly sickness is the common reason. And that number has been in the 50s for the whole year, hasn't it? And it's now in its 30s for the first time this week, or first time this year. Does that make sense? I didn't explain that very well.
It makes sense to me because I know. What we want to reassure you, Tessa, is that we don't have extra people off this week because it's half term. We haven't given anybody any extra annual leave because of half term. We're always really careful on our leave allocations to ensure the service is covered. And what feels really positive this week is what Wendy was saying, was that our absence numbers are down slightly this week. So that feels good.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. I did not articulate that very well.
I think you probably made it quite clear. So, lots of people saying hello. Sarah Lewis says hi, Wendy and Emma.
Oh, Sarah, hi. Why are you watching?
And Gemma has thanked us for the earlier response to her questions. That's nice. Rebecca has come on asking, is visiting for dads still 1 hour slot per day?
No, it's not, which is great news. So depending on what area of the hospital you're in at what time, their visiting does vary slightly. So on the maternity assessment unit, you can have your birth partner with you the whole time that you're there, whatever it is that you're coming in with, they can be there with you. During labour and birth, so on delivery suite or the spires, again, you can have a birth partner with you the entire time. And then on the ward, so the antenatal ward whilst you're pregnant and the postnatal ward after you've had your baby, the visiting times are 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. As with recovery area, so the observation area which some women need to go to after they've had caesareans or various procedures, the visiting's 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. But quite often if you come round in the middle of the night, your partner can stay for about an hour or so until you're settled into the ward, and then we ask them to go. What we do in most cases say though is that it should be the same birth partner for the whole of the visiting and your journey throughout.
Lovely. So we've got a little pause on questions. I know previously when we've had a pause then questions generally get asked, but it might be worthwhile just having a little discussion about possibly early signs of labour, or when would be a good time to call into the maternity assessment units.
So hopefully most people will have a conversation with their community midwives at some point in the later stage of your pregnancy, with things to look out for. And I know a lot of community midwives scribble these down in your blue notes so that you've got a little reminder. So some things to look out for and reasons to call either the spires or your MLU or the maternity assessment unit would be if you think your waters have broken. So we tend to like to know as soon as possible when your waters have broken. So you would call your chosen place of birth to let them know. We ask you lots of different questions, like what time do you think they went? Was it a really obvious gush, or was it a little trickle of waters? What colour are your waters? How far along in your pregnancy you are, because that can determine where we advise you to go and when we advise you to come in. We like to see most women as well after their waters have broken, so it might be that you're not necessarily contracting yet, but your waters have broken, so you come in, we assess you, make sure we're happy with everything, and quite often you go back home again to wait for your contractions to start. Other things you might find is you might pass your mucus plug. It doesn't necessarily mean that labour's going to start imminently. Sometimes you can leave your mucus plug and carry on being pregnant for weeks afterwards, but it can be a sign that maybe your body's niggling and thinking about going into labour. Other things to look for is obviously contractions, so you're more than welcome to call for advice at any point when you start contracting, but what we tend to think in the back of our minds is for established contractions, we'd expect you to be contracting maybe 3 contractions every 10 minutes and them to be lasting about a minute. However, if you've had babies in the past or things are happening quite quickly and intensely, you're very welcome to call sooner rather than later, and we can at least have a discussion with you over the phone about it. Any other signs?
I probably would say you might feel something is very different and you just need extra support. So it might be that you never reach 3 intense and contractions in 10 minutes, or you might be there for a long time but feel you're coping really, really well and nothing's really changed yet. So it might be you or your birthing partner that spots it, but there might be sort of quite a change in your behaviour, and sort of you get not introverted, but you go into yourself, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
And you don't really want lots of chatter, outside conversation. You don't really want to talk, and that might be a really sort of key change. So it might, if you don't want to fixate on contractions and numbers, look at your behaviour instead. But there's no wrong way to tell. It's just whenever you feel like you need to call.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
I think we say any queries, any questions, any concerns that you're just not sure about and you can't speak to your community midwife and call in. We're a 24/7 service.
Yeah. And sometimes you just, I think, want the reassurance to know, is this normal? Is this what I should be expecting? And midwives are always happy to chat you through that and give you a heads up of what might be coming for you and lots of different things. So yeah, always happy to have a phone call if you're unsure what's going on.
Probably don't do it on Facebook Live though.
Definitely don't do
it. If you're in labour now, don't leave a comment.
So Rebecca has advised that she's going to pass on to her NCT chat about the visiting for partners, so that's great. So Henley Hypnobirthing has commented saying, are ladies allowed more than one birth partner with them during labour now?
So not at the moment. We never sort of know what's around the corner, especially with the government changing their advice so frequently. So it's very much a watch this space at the moment. There are very unique individual circumstances. We do consider women on a case-by-case basis, but that would be a conversation with your midwife, your consultant obstetrician, and anyone else involved in your care. So it's not completely cut and dry, but generally it's one birth partner. Might change in the future, watch this space.
So Gemma has messaged us and said, do you need to come in knowing exactly what pain relief you'd like, or can this be discussed as it's happening? You mentioned a few things earlier I hadn't heard of.
Yeah. I think it's always nice for you to know what options are available beforehand. I think women like to know maybe what's available to them, so they can just get a bit of understanding before labour really starts and you're distracted by contractions. But by no means do you need to have planned exactly what you want to have throughout your labour. Things change all the time in labour, and so it's always a discussion that can be had with the midwife that's looking after you. Maybe what you think is appropriate at that time of your labour. 3 hours later you might be wanting something else. You might have a very quick labour, and so your plans might be completely different to what happened. So I think it's sometimes nice knowing your options beforehand. It's not necessary, and the midwives that are looking after you will know all the options available to you. So it's definitely something that can just be discussed as and when you feel like you need something extra or want something. The summary of that is no, you don't need to know what you want to have before you come in.
And I think, Gemma, if there's a few things that you haven't heard of that we've discussed, it's quite likely that there's lots of people on here that also haven't heard of them. Mm-hmm. So if you let us know what those things are, we can certainly go through them in a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
And Henley Hypnobirthing has thanked us for the previous information and is asking, can parents visit the spires, or is it the online video still the best option?
Yeah, the online video is still the best option at the moment. Mostly, it is because of COVID, but we can never guarantee that if you were to come in on a tour that even the birth rooms would even be free. Mm. So the video online actually does give you the closest view of all rooms guaranteed, because it might be you come in and all rooms are busy. So it's the easiest way and the quickest way to see what spires is like.
And we also want to try and keep as quiet an environment as we can on spires and on delivery suite when people come visiting. It's obviously an area that women are needing quiet time, and if we've got lots of people wandering around, we can't always promise that. So that's why we did the online videos actually prior to COVID, but then we put COVID into the mix.
think Delivery Suite have one. I
believe Delivery Suite do have a video, yes. Yeah, absolutely available on YouTube.
I think I starred in it briefly. So look out for me.
So we're up to date with the questions now. We're on 36 people watching us. So we've lost a few along the way.
What did we do wrong?
And if anybody does have any questions they want to ask, just pop it into the chat. If you don't want me to say your name, your first name, then just pop that in the chat as well. So update us. So Henry Hypnobirthing, I have to say her full name.
Her surname probably isn't Hypnobirthing.
I reckon her first name isn't Henry. But that's great, and thank you for watching. It's really important that people are watching this, that are seeing women that are due to birth with us here, and it's nice.
Sounds like we've got a few due this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck.
Spending your time at home with the baby, watching us on Facebook.
So what we want to know is what you want to know is what we want to know. We want to answer your questions that you haven't had an opportunity to ask your midwife or haven't thought about. If there are elements of the pain relief that you're thinking, I'm not sure about that, or will I be suitable, sort of open questions like that, we're more than happy to answer that. If you want to know what to put in your hospital bag, we'll do our best. Advise you on the essentials that you must remember. Oh, here we go. Henry Hypnobirthing is Sarah. Sarah, hello.
Sarah Hypnobirthing.
So we've got Kirsty, who's saying, thinking about harvesting colostrum prior to birth. Do you have a freezer at the spires to store these once you come in?
Yes, we do. I think it's down the bottom. But it doesn't really matter. Because you have plenty of freezers around the unit, and level 6 have a proper fridge and freezer.
Fridges as well.
Yeah. So it's generally not a problem at all. We've never had a problem with storing it. I actually can't remember if we've got a freezer in Spires.
I know on Delivery Suite and the observation area they've got fridges as opposed to freezers. So we're just so careful how long it's been defrosted for. But yeah, I didn't know in Spires.
And level 5 have a freezer. So there's always space we can find, and because generally the colostrum doesn't take that much space.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Charlotte has put up and saying, "Hi ladies, hope you're well and keeping safe." Thank you.
Thank you.
And you too. And she wants to know which hospital we are. And also she wants to let us know her daughter Alicia Jasmine was born in the first lockdown. She's nearly 2 this year.
Oh wow! Congratulations. That just shows how long it's been.
So confirm, Charlotte, we're actually talking to you live from the Women's Centre at the John Radcliffe, and we're talking about the Oxford Radcliffe NHS Foundation Trusts and the policies involved with all of those hospitals. But we are live from the Women's Centre.
Yeah, so that's the JR, but you probably know it as JR in Oxford, in Headington, the Horton in Banbury. The Spires is attached to the JR, so that's sort of one unit. And then you've got 4 birth centres. Well, the Horton I've already said, and you've got 3 more birth centres in Wallingford, Chipping Norton and Wantage. So that's all of us. And then all the community teams as well. So it's kind of basically the whole of Oxfordshire.
Yeah.
It's quite unusual for a trust to cover a whole county.
So Gemma has asked a question. Could you tell us a little bit more about delayed cord clamping, please?
Oh, Chloe, you're like experts.
So delayed cord clamping is something that I would say we recommend following most deliveries. It's when the cord which is attached from the placenta to the baby's belly button is left either for a couple of minutes or until it stops pulsating. It tends to be done on a case-by-case basis, but basically when it's left to pulsate a little bit longer than just cutting it immediately at delivery. There's some cases in which we wouldn't recommend it if the baby needed immediate support after being born. Sometimes it's the safest option to cut the cord sooner, but in most scenarios it would be standard practice, I would say, to support and promote delayed cord clamping. So it means that baby's probably skin to skin with you and the cord is left attached to the placenta for anything from a couple of minutes to longer,
Till
really,
the
till
placenter's
the
out.
placenter's out, till when you want to cut it.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question. Danielle's asking, thank you for all the information so far. She wants to say that, so hopefully this is being beneficial. If you give birth on spires, are the visiting hours the same for after the birth as on delivery suites?
Yeah, it's generally the same. On the spires, you'll stay in your birth room maybe probably a bit longer than you maybe would on delivery suite. And if it's out of hours, it's sort of when you move to a postnatal family room sort of area that we would then ask your partner to go. Obviously, if it's in the normal visiting time, so during the day, your partner would just stay until the end of visiting time. So it's only sort of really out of hours that it matters, and it's when you're moved from the room you gave birth in. But it's basically that's the same as delivery suite.
So Charlotte wants to thank us all here, and I think particularly on the spires as she gave birth.
Oh, wonderful.
And that was with Alicia Jasmine, who was born 2 years ago.
Wow.
So Claire has asked, is it likely that you could arrive wishing to give birth at the spires in a pool and that all of the rooms with pools are busy?
Do you want me to fill that one?
Yeah.
It has happened. It's not the complete. What's the word? Unknown. Yeah, it has happened before, but we tend to find that if there are all 3 pool rooms are in use, that the women are all in different stages of labour. So if you've got a woman who's recently given birth and the pool is empty, and we know that someone is either on their way in or being triaged as we speak, we would make every effort, when safe to do so, to move that woman and her baby to a postnatal room. And our support workers up there are absolutely fantastic. Sarah Lewis, if you're watching, this is you, are really, really good at cleaning the pools. So they will know to clean the pools really, really quickly. We've also got a domestic team as well that can kind of turn that room around. So although, yes, the pool rooms might all be in use, the turnaround of them can be pretty high. Yeah. So we can usually facilitate something at some point in your labour. It might not be immediately, but it might be you go to a separate room to begin with while we're turning the room around, and then we'll transfer you to the pool room when it becomes available. Sometimes there's also the option of going to delivery suite if you're okay with that, if their pool room is free, as sort of like a plan B option. Yeah.
Okay. Eleanor has asked, if I get to the point of needing to be induced, if I'm not delivered by 42 weeks, am I not able to give birth in the spires?
Do we see that one again?
Yeah. It's hard.
So did she say allowed? Is that the word she used?
Am I not able to give birth in the spires?
Okay, so we try to not use language like allowed or able to, because we want it to still be your choice. When you get to 42 plus 1, we would recommend a different level of monitoring, and that level of monitoring we can't provide on the spires, we can only provide it on delivery suite. So we would recommend at that point that you have your care on delivery suite, because we do think there are more risks when you get to that stage of pregnancy. However, this is all part of making an informed decision. So your midwives and potentially obstetricians as well would give you all that information about the recommended place of birth, and then you'd be able to make that decision based on all the information. But so you might choose to birth on spires still, and we wouldn't stop you. It wouldn't be a sort of you're not allowed to, but we would just not recommend it. But it'd be up for you to make that decision with your birth partner, with your family, with your midwives as well, to see what works for you and what's best for you in that situation. Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question, Eleanor, and good luck. Both Danielle and Claire have both thanked for the answers that you gave for their questions. That's good. And we're up to date again on our questions. So this is the time, if you want your question to be answered quickly, this is the time to get it in.
Done that one person, one birth partner.
Thought it might be useful. We spoke about it when we did the Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago about uniforms, because there are a lot of uniforms that you may see when you come into the unit, and it might be worthwhile just understanding what they are. So you can see Wendy's in the dark blue with the red trim, and that's the matron's uniform, and there's a matron for each area overall for each area, and is available to support staff as well. You can see Chloe's wearing
Scrubs.
blue scrubs, which is commonly what the staff on delivery suite wear. Possibly
different colours of scrubs now.
There's dark blue ones.
Yeah.
Light blue ones.
I think it's just whatever ones are in the changing rooms at the moment. Yeah.
You may see a dark blue like where Wendy's wearing with a gold trim, and that's our Director of Midwifery or our Deputy Heads of Midwifery. And so you may see those around. The dark blue with a white trim is the sisters of the ward managers. And the dark blue with the green trim are specialist practitioners. Majority are midwives, so they may be our diabetes specialist midwives or fetal medicine specialist midwives. Our midwives, if they're wearing their uniform and not scrubs, will be in a royal blue with a white trim. And our maternity support workers are in a light blue with a white trim. Nurses. We have a number of nurses on the level 5 and also on observation area, an essential part of our team. And they're wearing white trimmed with dark blue.
They're like the opposite of the midwife in terms of the
Yes,
colour. It's inverted, isn't
white
it?
and then blue trim. Yeah,
Absolutely. And we have some other hearing screening team wear a blue with a pink trim.
Yes,
black
trim. Yeah.
And our housekeepers wear a lovely purple coloured
polo shirts now. They've recently changed companies. So.
But if you are in doubt over any professional that comes to see you, if you're wondering, I can't remember what their uniform is, or I'm not sure who they are, please always ask. We like it when you ask to see our name badges. Everybody will probably be wearing a yellow one. But everybody should also be wearing an ID badge, which is the Oxford Hospital's ID badge with their full name and also what their job is. And you can always ask somebody to see that if you are unsure. Okay, we've got a few more questions. Sandra has asked, is it possible to give birth at the Spires with a baby in a back-to-back position, and is there any assistance on the day with trying to get the baby to move into an anterior position?
Yes, it is possible to give birth with baby in a back-to-back position. There are lots of things that we can help do during the labour, or some things that you might be doing antenatally to help promote optimal fetal positioning. So keeping mobile is great, just to help baby's head come down and spin round into the opposite of back to back. So and being on all fours can be a really helpful position to be in to help baby make that turn. The power of the contractions in labour tend to help turn most babies in labour, so sometimes people will start their labour with a baby in a back-to-back position, and naturally babies do turn and get themselves into the OA or the different position where they're not back-to-back. We've got, I don't know if they have them on Spires, but I know on Delivery Suite we have things called peanut balls. So they look like the bathing balls that you might have at home, but they are in the shape of a peanut. And one of the ways that can help babies turn from a back-to-back position is when mums lie on their side and have the peanut ball in between their legs, so it sort of cocks one leg up here, and it just helps babies twist. It's I would say probably not the most comfortable position to be in labour, but it can be really helpful in helping babies spin round. And I would say we most commonly use the peanut balls for women that have epidurals, so that maybe if they're less able to be in those mobile positions, be moving around on all fours or just keeping more mobile, it's a great way for women with epidurals who are less mobile. We can easily get you in that position with the peanut ball to help spin babies round. Any other little...
Well, I forgot the website last time. We was asked this question 2 weeks ago, and I forgot the website.
Spinning Babies.
So now I know how to spin it. It's got really good visuals on there. It's really thorough. It's like an actual Bible on babies' positions.
Very good.
So it is really, if you've got time. If you're watching us, you've probably got time. Go on that website, and that talks about positions now, positions in labour, positions in second stage of labour. So definitely give it a go.
But I think the initial question, as part of that, would there be any problem with Sandra birthing on Spires with a back-to-back baby if everything else was okay?
Absolutely, yeah.
Lovely. And Maria has asked, she's got a planned caesarean section under general anaesthetic. Will she have a room on her own before and after delivery, and can her husband be with her?
So if you have a planned caesarean section, you will get given much closer to the time of caesarean. You'll get given a time to come into delivery suite, and you come in with your partner. There's various rooms that we have you in before going for the caesarean section. So one of the rooms is a 2-bedded bay, and then there's 2 other single rooms that we use. So you'll get put into one of those rooms. I think it's sometimes dependent on the order of people having caesarean sections that morning. Your partner can be with you from the get-go when they come in. It might be, if you're having a general anaesthetic, that they're not in the theatre for the procedure, but that would be something that would be discussed with you on a one-to-one basis. And then following the caesarean section, you would probably get taken round to the observation area, so the main recovery ward, which is just off the corridor of delivery suite. And it would be, there are some side rooms there, but it would probably be more likely that you would be in a bay, which are covered with curtains. And when you're round on the observation area, your partner would be there with you until, again, 8 p.m. that evening when the visiting times end. So your partner would be with you for all, if not the vast majority of that. And there's a chance you might be in a side room, but also a chance that you might be in a bay pre and post the caesarean. Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question, Maria. So we've got another natural pause in questions. So remember, this is the opportunity that you can ask us all those questions you've forgotten to ask your community midwife. We're focusing on labour and birth, but if there is any other questions that you'd like to ask us, we'll have a good go, and if we don't know the answers, we'll definitely
and I will personally research and send an individual response.
So, and Maria has thanked us for the question about the caesarean section. Good luck, Maria.
Sort of waiting you to, just watching you stare at the I can't see you, Emma.
I know. I'm hopeful. I'm forever hopeful that somebody will put another question up.
What's on your list? You know, it's a really helpful list.
Well, I think we covered it about name badges, uniforms, talking about doing a lateral flow. Thank you, Charlotte.
I think they're just asking questions to fill the silence.
So Charlotte says that she had an episiotomy with her first baby. What's the chance of needing another one this time?
I don't know if I know statistics.
I don't know the statistics, but it doesn't it doesn't predispose you, is that the word, to having a repeat episiotomy. But I don't. Well, Emma will probably research it for us and personally write to you. I don't think she will. But it's not something you would need to worry about. I would just say perineal massage is your best friend. Especially, I think that's the best thing to focus on. And I think just tell your midwife your concerns, especially your midwife looking after you in labour, and what she can do is do extra special care of the perineum if that's what you want. Some women don't necessarily want hands-on the perineum at birth. If you want that, she can be there supporting that with a warm compress when the head is being born, and put you in sort of better positions to reduce that risk. So I think just make sure if you're really worried about it, just be really, really clear on your birth preferences, and that's what we can sort of prioritise over. You'll just be aware of it. It's not that we don't prioritise it. It's not that we don't prioritise it, but
if, like anything, if it's worrying you, if it's concerning you, then let us know, and we can support you with those concerns and hopefully try and alleviate them. So Louise has asked, she's tested for group B strep. When she goes into labour, will she need to go to the hospital straight away for antibiotics?
So she tested positive?
Yeah, she has. I'm thinking probably in pregnancy.
Yes.
So if you've tested positive for Group B strep in this pregnancy, one of the hospital recommendations is that throughout your labour we give you antibiotics through a cannula in your hand, mainly to help protect the risk of transmission to the baby, so help to prevent baby developing GBS or an infection. So we tend to like to know, like I said earlier, we like to know when your waters have broken anyways, but in particular if you have tested positive for Group B strep in pregnancy, we like you to call the assessment unit straight away to let them know that your waters have broken, because once the waters have broken around baby, that's when there's a risk of transmission of the infection to the baby. So we'd recommend treating with antibiotics once your waters have broken. If your labour doesn't start by your waters breaking, if it starts from contractions, you don't necessarily need the antibiotics straight away. So if you're in established labour with contractions, that's when we would also recommend giving the antibiotics. But in that early phase of labour, when your contractions are a bit stop-starty or not as regular, if your waters haven't broken, then you can still be at home and wait for your contractions to establish a bit more. You can also have the IV antibiotics on the spires, so testing positive for Group B strep isn't a reason in itself to have the continuous monitoring or to be on delivery suite, so you can still use the pool and you can still be on spires if you test positive for Group B strep. Does that kind of question?
Yeah,
I've forgotten what the question was now. I was babbling on.
I mean, she wants to know if she needs to come to the hospital straight away, so I think it's that phone call to make you talk through what's happening and get the advice there. So yes, I think we more than covered it. So a different Louise said, when labour starts, how do I know when to come in? I don't want to be sent home, but equally I don't want to leave it too late. I think that's probably something that everyone is asking. Yeah.
My top recommendation for that would just be call the either spires or the maternity unit or wherever you're planning on giving birth. Just call them, because if you're really, we can't always guarantee that we won't leave it too late or you'll come in and not be advised to go home, but I think it's always better to call sooner rather than later. We're always happy to have discussions with you over the phone about it and make a plan together as to what's most appropriate for you at that time. And yeah, you can have as many phone calls as you want, we're there all the time, and so I wouldn't worry yourself about not being sure of when to come in, because that's something that we can advise you on as midwives, and also we can make a decision together at the time when we're on the phone about it. So yeah, just call.
So we're in our last few minutes. It's flown by. Louise, who'd asked us about the Group B strep, has thanked us because she didn't know she could still go to the spire, so she's really pleased.
One more customer for the spire. Oh, Emma, you've lost. Are we still live?
Are we still there?
Possibly. Let's have a look. You did this to us last time, didn't it?
Oh, yes. Catch up.
Oh, that's fine.
Is it going on standby? Yeah,
We're back and running.
Your laptop locked itself, didn't it, Emma?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. So we've got a couple less minutes now.
That was just an excuse to buy us time.
So a couple more minutes of any last minute questions. I'm thinking it might be good. Any top tips? That's putting you on the spot.
Oh God, Emma.
Any top tips?
How long is a piece of string?
Absolutely, but what's your top tips as experienced delivery suite midwives? Thinking about things like what to bring into hospital.
Lip
What's
balm.
really useful. There we go.
Such
Lip
good
balm.
balm.
Please, I've actually given away multiple tubes of my own lip balm to women more desperate than myself. Lip balm and a flannel.
Yeah.
They're always wanting
Yeah.
either a cold compress.
Yeah.
We always use a sanitary pad on the head. It just doesn't cut
Yeah.
it, does it? So a flannel,
A flannel and a
lip
lip balm.
balm.
Yeah, that's a really good shout. What other things? Maybe I think speakers is always a good shout
Yeah.
to bring in if you want. But some of the rooms do have radios, but if you've got a planned playlist or something like that, bringing in your own speakers
Yeah.
is a good.
And a spare charger for your phone.
Yeah, aromatherapy oils. We don't mind using your own. You can use your own. Our stock is a bit
Up and down.
it's in a state of flux. So if you've got a really specific oil that you're sat on using, and you can use more than one oil as well. And we've got the diffusers. That's never a problem. Yeah, eye mask maybe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for those quiet, calm
So
times.
block
so
out
that you
light.
can-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think getting your bag partner to know where things are in your bag
Yes.
that you've packed is good.
Oh, that's a really good top
It's
tip.
my top tip.
It's usually the midwives trying to find
Go
it in the end
rummaging in
because
your
the partner's
bag.
like, I know where everything is. And we're sort of more used to it, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we know probably where this woman has stored something and we can find it. So that's a really doing a little tour. This is my bag. I don't find that the magazines and stuff like that are used very much.
No.
People bring stuff like that in, but I don't really think that's. But people don't really. It's more sort of people are over on their phones or concentrating.
Yes. Yes. Well, it looks like we might have come to a natural end. We haven't got any further comments. And that's quite possibly we have answered everything that needs to be answered today. We have 27 people still watching us or listening to us.
They were with us to the
So
very
that's
end.
great. It's fluctuated quite a bit. But I think unless anybody wants to put something up last minute, we'll just wait for 30 more seconds.
I've got 30 more seconds to think of a top tip then.
You have another top tip. I think if I had to give a top tip, it would be just never sit at home worrying about anything.
Oh, that's a nice one.
There's always someone that can answer your query, help you out, whether it's the middle of the night, middle of the day. It's never a bother to speak to you. So please, if you're worried about anything, and if you're thinking, gosh, that sounds daft, we've probably asked it ourselves. We've probably been asked it 100 times. It's never a daft question. It's never a problem to speak to you. Just call us if something is worrying you.
Oh, nice note to finish on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. So people are saying thank you. Oh, one final question. Is there Wi-Fi at the Spires?
There is Wi-Fi. There's Wi-Fi at the JR, at Banbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got good Wi-Fi actually. It's what you want, yeah.
Perfect. Well, and Samantha said thank you so much. Really helpful and reassuring to see you.
Oh,
Or to see you two.
You just
little
cats.
glimpses, yeah.
I think you need to come on camera now just to say bye.
Come back and say goodbye.
This is Emma.
Ding ding.
But thank you very much for watching, for asking all the questions, and we will be back at, well, not us, but another team will be back in 2 weeks' time, but the infant feeding Facebook Lives continue. Okay, really nice to have you all join us, and thank you very much.
Thank you. You've got to do the awkward walk round now to end it while we just wave at the camera. Still alive.